Hello, welcome to this video on the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. Today we will see two verses. First one is 105. 105. First in Sanskrit. Ghaṭādau yatya vijñānam icchādyaṃ mamāntare naiva sarvagataṃ jātam bhāvayan niti sarvagaḥ. Vijnānam, that consciousness, yatya, which is that which is consciousness, icchādyaṃ, or that which is desire, etc. etc. means memory, cognition, feelings, all sorts of cognitions, of experiences. Mamāntare, inside me, naiva, are not only inside me. Ghaṭādau, but are also in objects like pots, like the vase, like this vase, etc. Bhāvayan, one should realize sarvagataṃ jātam, that those experiences, consciousness, desire, etc., arise not only in me, but in all objects, everywhere, in everything, like vase, pots, cloth, stones, mountains, trees, water, whatever. Iti sarvagaḥ. Realizing that, bhāvayan iti sarvagaḥ, realizing that one becomes all-pervading, one becomes all-pervading, one becomes someone who is everywhere. Why? Because I realize that consciousness is not only in me, in that body, but in everything. So here it's a difficult verse. And the interpretation is not easy, because one can quite well understand that all is consciousness, in the sense that whatever is experienced within the consciousness I have of it. Okay, that anyone, anytime, anywhere, one can check that by oneself. But then, not everything is conscious. Everything is consciousness. Everything is within consciousness. Everything is made up of consciousness, of a conscious act. The conscious act of perceiving, the conscious act of imagining, the conscious act of remembering. All those are conscious acts. So all their contents are made, as it were, made of consciousness. So they are consciousness. You can say that, and that makes sense. But then to say that everything, all the contents of consciousness are themselves conscious. You see, they are not only consciousness, they are conscious. That is, they are endowed with consciousness, with desire, with will, etc. That is more difficult to understand. The idea, the simplest interpretation, simplest understanding of it, is that, in fact, there is no boundary within consciousness, and there are no divisions of consciousness. There are no pieces of consciousness, because we tend to imagine a consciousness like space, and space is everywhere, but not all of space is within everything. There is a little bit of space in a little thing, there is a little more space in a little bigger thing, and in a huge thing there is a huge piece of space. So there are pieces of space in everything. But when we say everything is in consciousness, it's not the same, because consciousness cannot be divided. Consciousness, in every part of it, is the whole of what it is. So that has very, very deep consequences if one accepts that consciousness cannot be divided. So if there is something pervaded by consciousness, it means that it is inhabited, as it were, by the whole of consciousness. So that thing not only is consciousness, but it is also conscious. And second part of the interpretation is saying that, well, this body is conscious, means in fact that I, consciousness, manifest myself as consciousness, and I decide freely, I choose freely to identify myself with that body. But in fact, this is possible with anything. This is possible with anything. I can identify with someone else, with a dog, but I can also identify with an object. A bicycle, a car, a plane, a house. I can identify with my money. I can identify with my family, with my social group, with a nation, with a race, whatever. I can identify with anything, because in myself, in my own being, as consciousness, I am no thing. I have no limit. I have no fixed essence. So I can identify with any essence. So in fact, I can say that I am that vase, and hence that vase has consciousness, desire, and so on. So of course we could say today that the vase has no nervous system, and that vase is not endowed with consciousness and desire. But this is a position which is quite similar to what today is called panpsychism, saying that everything, every object, every piece of matter, even atoms, are endowed with a degree of consciousness and desire. That, for example, you could say that forces of nature, like gravity, are manifestations of a kind of desire and of a kind of choice. Well, all that is quite controversial, and as I said, the interpretation of that verse is not so easy. And in the commentary, he quotes a famous verse along the same lines from the Shiva Drishti of Somananda, saying that not only I manifest myself as the pot, I know the pot, I know myself as the pot, but the pot knows myself as the pot, etc., etc. It's a little bit hard to understand, and it is often quoted, but not very often explained. It's not the general idea is easy to see, that everything is within consciousness, within the field of experience. That is clear. But then, how can a pot or a vase be itself conscious and endowed with desire and some sort of free will and all the powers implied in consciousness? This is not so clear. But anyway, I gave you the main interpretations, I think, according to the tradition. So again, the verse would mean I should realize that consciousness, desire, etc. do not exist, do not arise only within me, but also within objects like vase, etc. And realizing that consciousness, desire, etc. are all pervading, I become all pervasive. That's the literal translation of the verse, you could say. And you see, it's not saying only that consciousness and desire are pervading the vase as well, but it's saying that it arises, jātam, it arises in the vase as well. So this is not easy to, it would be easy to say that the vase is consciousness because it's a perception or a mental image, and all those are conscious acts, conscious actions. So the vase in that sense is consciousness. But to say that within the vase, like in any person, in any living being, there does arise consciousness and desire, well, that is not so easy. Ghaṭādau vijñānanti. The vase, etc., know. How do a vase know? It's not so easy to know. But asmadadi gyanena, through cognition, which is in the first person. The vase has a first person point of view. So you see here that what is said is strong. It's not just saying that everything appears in consciousness, in my consciousness, but it's to say that the vase has also its own, her own subjectivity. It has an inside, it has a subjective world, it has a point of view, it has a first person point of view. It's not only a third person point of view I have on the vase, but the vase itself has his own point of view, his own first person point of view and the second person point of view. Asmaradi. And of course the third person, but it has a first person, it has an I, it has self-awareness. So, okay, and then he says, Sadashiva Adirapi Krimi Paryantam, from the highest state of being down to insects. So this is okay because those are living beings, but how a vase can have the same powers, this is harder to know, but he does not really explain, of course. Anyway, verse 106. Grāhyagrāhakasaṃvittiḥ sāmānyā sarvadehinām yogināṃ tu viśeṣo'sti sambandhe sāvadhānatā. So, sambandhe, the experience, the consciousness, grāhyagrāhaka, of subject and object, literally of that which grasp and that which is grasped. This is a typically Buddhist vocabulary. The experience of subject and object, sāmānyā, is common, sarvadehinām, is common to all beings who have a body. When you have a body, there is a subject and an object. There is some experience of duality. So what's the difference between an ordinary person and an awakened person or practitioner of yoga, of a spiritual discipline who has some insight? Well, yogināṃ tu, but for the yogis, viśeṣo'sti, there is that difference. They have, there is something which is common, the experience of the subject and the object. That is common to everyone, but there is something special to the experience of the yogis. What is that? It is sāvadhānatā. It is a special attention. They pay attention to what? Sambandhe, to the relationship, to the relation. So this is as often a little bit elliptical. What it means is that the experience of awareness and the content of awareness is common to all experience. There is an experience and there is some content of that experience. My hand, the screen, the room, this is common to all experience. Even awakened experience has experience and the content of experience. So, what is different in awakened experience? Well, awakened experience just means that I am not only experiencing the content of my present experience, I am also aware that all those contents are appearing within experience, within consciousness, within the space of consciousness. So to be awakened is to be aware of that all-embracing, all-pervading, all-containing space of experience that embraces, that pervades, that contains whatever is experienced, whatever is the content of experience, whether it is through direct present perception or through memory or imagination, real or unreal, doesn't matter. All that is within consciousness, and that awareness is the special feature of the experience of yogis. So the question is not duality or no duality. The question is duality in forgetfulness of unity, of the background of unity, of the space of consciousness, or duality in full awareness of the background, the space, the sky of consciousness. This is what they mean that by special attention to relation. They see that my hand is appearing in relation to that background of awareness. It is not isolated, it is not alone, it is not separated, if you will, from me. It is appearing in me. It is appearing in me, and it is one aspect of the manifestation of me. It is me manifesting as that hand, manifesting as this, as that. So this is the special feature of the awakened experience, and this is quite important because it shows that according to tantric yoga, according to this tradition, awakening is not the disappearance of all duality, of all multiplicity of the world. Rather, it is becoming aware that all that appears, the body, the world, etc., all appears within consciousness, within one awareness, within one space, and it is the manifestation of that space. So there is no separation, but there is no elimination of the world. There is integration. There is awareness of a larger background, larger awareness. It is not suppressing, it is about expanding. This is the special point of tantric yoga and the tantric definition, you could say, of awakened experience. It is an experience of the world, but it is an experience of expanding beyond the world, that is, of awareness, becoming aware of herself. As simple as that. So that verse is quite important and it is quoted often to make a clear distinction between ordinary experience and awakened experience. And it is also found in the Yoga Vasishtha, which appears to be a text, huge non-dual teaching composed in Kashmir at the very same time as the Vijnana Bhairava. And it knows of the Vijnana Bhairava. It quotes, it seems. Or maybe it quotes of the same text that the Vijnana Bhairava is here quoting. But anyway, Yoga Vasishtha knows about, it seems, about Vijnana Bhairava and Spandakarika, which is not very surprising, given that it was most probably composed in Kashmir around the same time as the Vijnana Bhairava and Spandakarika. So, we have seen today that we can realize intuitively, even if we cannot explain very clearly, that everything is endowed with consciousness and with desire. Everything is alive. Everything is alive. And second, that everything appears within consciousness, and this is to awaken. When I am aware only of things, this and that, I'm sleeping. This is sleeping Kundalini. When awareness turns upon herself, without discarding awareness of things, but embracing the awareness of things within a full awareness of herself, this is awakened experience. This is becoming aware of the all-pervading, living space that we call awareness consciousness. That's all for today. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.